Sunday best, a beautiful hat, perfect pearls, perfect purse, and she was a legend on that bridge. And it was one of those photos that the New York Times aired around the world. And here was this dignified woman just marching for the right that all Americans should enjoy, our basic bedrock of our citizenship, the right to vote. And it was because of those moving photos that got us the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And if you had told me as a girl growing up in Selma that I would grow up to become Alabama's first Black woman congresswoman from the state of Alabama, I would have said no. But if you had told me that I would grow up and have the honor of calling John Lewis my colleague and dear mentor, I would have said, oh no. I wouldn't have believed it. But I grew up in the historic Brown Chapel AME Church, and every year, John and those foot soldiers would come back to commemorate what happened on Bloody Sunday so that this whole world would never forget, but especially those of us in Alabama and in Selma. And so to grow up in that church and to be singing in the children's choir, and then to be an usher, and every year, like clockwork, that first Sunday in the month of March was when we marched. First Sunday in the month of March is when we marched. And they would come back to Brown Chapel and they would worship in that service, and they would lead that march, that commemorative march reenactment from Brown Chapel to across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and then back to Brown Chapel. Because as all of you know, when they were bludgeoned on that bridge, they retreated to Brown Chapel. And some call it serendipity, I call it God's hand. That I would become the member of Congress and welcome the world to the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And it was a glorious day. I don't know if any of you were there 10 years ago, but it was a glorious day. Sunny, beautiful, and 100 members of Congress, 2 presidents, President Obama and Mrs. Obama, but also President George W. Bush. Because the last time the Voting Rights Act was reauthorized was under his watch. He was the president. It passed overwhelmingly, unanimously in the Senate and overwhelmingly in the House of Representatives. You know, voting rights wasn't partisan then. Now the Republicans see this as an electoral strategy to actually suppress the vote. But I'm just here to tell you that it was, if you had told me that my cause, the cause for which John Lewis and those foot soldiers march would be my cause 6 years ago, no way. But I think all of us know that progress is elusive and every generation has to fight to hold on to that progress, or else we lose it, right? And that's what we're seeing right now, backwards. And we're going backwards, ladies, on our collective watch. We can't give up. We have to be just as persistent and consistent in our struggle as we've ever been before. We have to let our collective voice be heard. If there's anything that I've learned from the John Lewis playbook, it is that we can't give up. Just think about what those marchers, if they had given up after Bloody Sunday and didn't come back 2 days later and didn't come back a week and a half later with a court order from Frank Johnson, giving them that injunction to march from Selma to there were 3 attempts, is what I'm trying to say, before they got it right. So we have to be just as vigilant. And when I think about the women of the movement, I think about Amelia Boynton Robinson, who I had the great honor of having as my special guest that State of the Union during 2015. And she was 103 years old. Precious cargo. I'm looking over at my staff because I know Hillary, you were there. Melinda, you were there. We had to get not one excuse. We had to get 3. And she came not just with herself and her sitter. She came with a staff of 2 others who were there medically for her. But boy, were we excited to greet her in the nation's capital. And the thought that she would get an opportunity to meet the President of the United States, who in 2015 was Barack Obama. You know that not only was she a civil rights, voting rights icon, but I want you to know that Amelia Boynton Robinson in 1964 had the audacity to run for Congress. She was the first Alabama black or white to run in the Democratic primaries for this seat that I now have, Alabama's 7th congressional district. What she must have had, what courage she must have had to actually go and not just register to vote, but actually pay the fee and sign up to actually run for Congress. And so that opportunity for me to pay it forward, for me, I often tell my staff, we have the great honor of representing the people of Alabama's 7th Congressional District, but we also have the great honor and challenge to protect the legacy, the rich legacy that is Alabama's 7th Congressional District. And that's a legacy, a proud legacy of ordinary Americans daring to make this nation live up to its highest ideals of equality and justice. Get 1% of the vote. I think she got maybe 1%. But my high honor was when I got elected. I had never run for anything since freshman class president in college. And I had not won election for 3 in 1 year. So the primary, the runoff, and the general. And the general election watch night party was held in my hometown of Selma, Alabama, with the band, Selma High School's band there and everything. And I invited the ladies of the movement, women whose shoulders I stood on, women who should have been Alabama's first congresspersons. And so we had Juanita Abernathy, who is the wife of Ralph Abernathy there. We had Teresa Burrows, who ran, they're all deceased now. So I'm so glad I was able to give them their flowers when they lived. So Juanita Abernathy was there, and anyway, Amelia Boynton Robinson. And so let's flash forward. It's 2015, it's the State of the Union. I think all of us understood the importance of that event, of her having the opportunity to meet with Barack Obama before he gave the speech. And so the speaker, who was a Republican speaker at the time, and they had us off in a small holding room waiting for Barack Obama to come. And all of the president's cabinet came by. And so they all to a person said the same thing. They would kneel down by her wheelchair and Amelia, we stand on your shoulders. So by the time Eric was the last of them, he was the Attorney General at the time. When he got there, this room, which was small already by this time, was really claustrophobic, and people are all around wanting to just touch her hand, take a picture with her. So he comes in, he goes, "Oh, Miss Amelia, I stand on your shoulders." And she looked up at him, she looked up at me, and she says, "Get off my shoulders." You. Is to do our own work, right? To pick up the baton and do our own work. So when Barack Obama finally got into that room, I think all of us, you could, the anticipation, you could just feel it was powerful. And he literally walked directly towards her and he kneeled down and she cradled his face. Oh. And he said, "Miss Amelia, I'm about to give a speech as the President of the United States of America in a few minutes. And it's all because of your bravery. To say thank you doesn't seem adequate enough. And she looked up without missing a beat and she said, make it a good one. All of us understood that it better be a damn good speech. Bless him so that he would have an opportunity, right? Right? I would say to all of you ladies, right? The best way that we can honor the legacy of these amazing people is to make every day a good one and to know that every day is not promised to us so that we have to make every day count. That's what I think that she was trying to say, or at least that's what I took away from it. And I just want you to know that it is never lost on me that I get to walk the halls of Congress as a congresswoman because of the sacrifices of people like Amelia. Women like Coretta Scott King. You know, it was Coretta Scott King said that our struggle is never won in one lifetime, right? Every generation has to do its part. Because of Rosa Parks, and there's just so many amazing known and unknown women, Black and white, Jewish and Christian, that gave us this movement that really led to a universal movement for human rights, right? And I think we should all be proud of that. We should all be proud of that. And so I just wanted to come by, I know I'm one of the last of your speakers of the day, just to say thank you. Thank you for understanding the importance of remembering, of reflecting, of rededicating ourselves to the proposition that all men and women are created equal and that we have to fight and fight like heck to hold on to the progress that we collectively have made. And then we have to collectively, and if John were here, he would say in a nonviolent manner, collectively in a nonviolent manner, advance it, right? We do. I'm proud to say that 2 days ago, on Wednesday, I reintroduced the John Robert Voting. I reintroduced that bill to 100% sponsorship by every House Democratic Party. I will continue to do that because whenever I feel down, I think about John. I think about John's last visit to that bridge. It was in 2020. His body was riddled with cancer, but he came, as he would say, one more time to that bridge. And they lifted him up and they gave him a microphone. Well, his voice couldn't have been stronger. I don't know where he summoned up the strength, but his last words to us all was to never give up, never give in, keep the faith, and keep our eyes on the prize. But I know collectively we can get there. Public sentiment goes. In the face of this chaos, when we heard about Tuskegee Airmen being ripped from the pages of the Air Force manual, we said no. We said hell no. Right? And they reversed it. Okay. So and I'm late today because I had with Leader Jeffries is in town, and Leader Jeffries and I and Shamari Figures had a press conference in front of the Freedom Ride Museum because we know that Elon Musk and his Doge, whatever the boys, bros, whatever they are, have put on the list for disposition the Greyhound bus station, which is now a museum to the Freedom Riders. We say hell no. And we're going to get it off that list because of the work and the collective voices of all of us. So, for works. I know it. I know it in my own life. I'm a living testament to it. Please, let's continue to work together, be unified in our efforts of pushing back. I know I'm a part of the minority party in Congress. I like to say that I'm the leader of the resistance party. So the opposition party is doing something every day. We just need our voices to be amplified. And we know that rarely does change come from the halls of Congress. It bubbles up from grassroots activism. So we need your voices. We need your activism.